Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that might just change the way you think about attraction forever. You've been told it's about looks, style, or saying the right words, but that's not what truly makes someone magnetic. What instantly pulls a man in is an energy, a presence, a confidence that can't be faked. It's the way you walk into a room without needing approval, the way you create intrigue without giving everything away, the way you validate yourself before anyone else does. And when you embody this energy, you don't have to chase attention, it chases you. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to tap into that. The power of energy over appearance is one of the most misunderstood truths in attraction. Too often, people obsess over what they wear, how flawless their skin looks, or whether they have the perfect body, believing that those surface-level details are what create magnetic pull. But in reality, men are far more drawn to the invisible qualities, the energy you project when you walk into a room, the way you carry yourself, the confidence in your body language, and the spark in your eyes. Think about it. You've probably met someone who didn't fit the typical standard of perfect looks, yet something about them was captivating. That's because true magnetism isn't about fitting a mold, it's about owning who you are with a level of certainty that demands attention. And when you step into a space believing you are enough exactly as you are, that energy radiates outward. People can feel it without you saying a word. Men are incredibly sensitive to this, whether consciously or subconsciously. They notice how you treat yourself. Do you walk in apologizing for existing? Or do you step in with the calm assurance that you belong wherever you are? The former makes people overlook you. The latter makes people turn their heads without knowing why. And this kind of energy is contagious. When you laugh freely, when you allow yourself to express without fear of judgment, when you radiate the joy of being comfortable in your own skin, others want to be around you. A magnetic presence isn't about being the loudest in the room. It's about having an energy so grounded and inviting that people feel better just by being near you. Men don't fall for someone simply because she fits an image. They fall for the way she makes them feel when they are around her. And that feeling is born from the energy you choose to project. And now, once your energy is aligned, there's another piece of magnetism that cannot be ignored. The art of genuine curiosity. Too many people approach attraction as if they need to perform, as if they must showcase their best stories, their cleverest lines, or their greatest achievements to win someone's interest. But the truth is, people are far more drawn to how you make them feel about themselves than to how impressive you try to appear. Men, like anyone else, crave to be seen, understood, and appreciated. When you approach conversations not with the goal of dazzling, but with a sincere interest in who they are, you create a connection that feels rare. And ask questions that go beyond the surface. Instead of, what do you do? Ask, what do you love most about what you do? Instead of, where are you from? Ask, what's your favorite memory from growing up there? These kinds of questions show that you're not looking to fill silence. You're looking to uncover the layers that make him who he is. That curiosity makes him feel significant, and significance is one of the deepest human needs. When you make someone feel important without trying to manipulate or impress, they associate you with warmth, comfort, and value. And think about how rare that is today. In a world where everyone is focused on how they appear on social media, where so many conversations are shallow and rushed, genuine curiosity feels like water in a desert. It stands out, and when you are the one who gives it, you become unforgettable. Men don't just want beauty, they want someone who makes them feel alive, valued, and inspired to share more of themselves. But here's the secret: while curiosity makes you magnetic, it must be balanced with another crucial ingredient: availability and mystery. One of the most overlooked truths about attraction is that magnetism thrives in contrast. If you give everything away too soon, if you reveal every detail of your life in the first few conversations, or if you make yourself endlessly available, you strip away the sense of discovery. People are wired to value what feels rare, and when you protect your energy, your time, and your story, you create a natural sense of intrigue. And this doesn't mean playing games or deliberately withholding affection. It means remembering that your attention is precious. It means showing warmth, but also keeping certain parts of your life sacred until someone has truly earned the right to know them. When a man feels both your kindness and your boundaries, he senses that he has to step up to keep your interest. That balance creates the spark that keeps him leaning in, wanting more and working harder to earn your time. And think about the last time you were fascinated by someone. Chances are they gave you just enough to keep you hooked, but not so much that the mystery was gone. They were kind and engaging, but also left you wondering, what else is there to discover? That's the essence of magnetism. It's not about constant accessibility. It's about creating a dance between what you reveal and what you allow someone to discover over time. When you strike that balance, you don't have to chase anyone. They'll be chasing you. And yet, none of this holds its true power without the final piece, self-validation. Because all the energy, curiosity, and balance in the world can't sustain magnetism if you are secretly relying on someone else to define your worth. The most magnetic people are not those who need to be chosen, but those who already live as if they've chosen themselves. When you build a life that excites you, when you fill your days with passions, friendships, goals, and joys that have nothing to do with a man, you become magnetic without even trying. And why? Because people are drawn to those who don't cling, those who don't seek approval at every turn, those who are already full without needing someone else to complete them. A woman who validates herself doesn't ask, am I enough for him? Instead, she asks, is he enough for me? Does he add to the life I've already built? That shift in perspective flips the dynamic completely. Instead of seeking to prove your value, you become the one who evaluates whether someone else is truly worthy of you. And men feel this difference. They can sense when someone is desperate for validation versus when someone already knows her worth. The first creates pressure, and pressure kills attraction. The second creates freedom, and freedom is intoxicating. When you live in a state of self-validation, you don't try to grip tighter when someone pulls away. You know that your value isn't diminished by their actions. That unshakable certainty is what makes men lean in harder. And magnetism then isn't something you manufacture in a single moment. It's something you embody every day. It's the way you treat yourself, the curiosity you bring to others, the balance you maintain between openness and mystery, and the deep self-love that ensures you never rely on someone else for your happiness. When you embrace these truths, you stop trying to be magnetic and you start naturally radiating it. And the moment you radiate it, men don't just notice you, they can't stop thinking about you. Too often, people confuse curiosity with performance. They believe that asking questions is about gathering facts, but true curiosity is about making someone feel like they matter. When a man speaks and you genuinely lean in not to reply but to understand, it changes the atmosphere of the conversation. He feels seen in a way that most people never make him feel. That's what creates chemistry that lingers long after the interaction has ended. It isn't the clever joke you cracked or the flawless story you told. It's that when he was with you, he felt like he mattered. That feeling is unforgettable. But here's the challenge when people discover the power of curiosity. They sometimes swing too far into it. They become overly available, endlessly pouring their attention into the other person, forgetting that true magnetism also comes from holding back, from not giving everything away all at once. Because magnetism is as much about space as it is about closeness. Just as music isn't only the notes, but also the silence between them. Attraction isn't just the warmth you give, it's the mystery you hold back. And when you're too available, you strip away that sense of anticipation. If someone knows you'll always answer immediately, always be ready, always bend to their schedule, there's no tension, no spark, no chase. Humans are wired to value what feels scarce, and when your time and energy feel too abundant, they lose their value. On the other hand, when you give warmth but also hold boundaries, when you're present in the moment but not always accessible on demand, you create a natural rhythm of pull and release. That rhythm keeps people leaning in. It makes them wonder when they'll get to see you again, what you'll reveal next, how far the connection might go. And think about the difference between someone who texts you constantly, never giving you space to breathe, versus someone who leaves moments of silence, moments where you're left wondering what they're up to. The second person feels more intriguing, even if they said less. The same is true with magnetism. You don't need to play games, you just need to value your own life enough that you're not always on standby. That naturally creates the kind of mystery that makes people chase your energy instead of taking it for granted. And this isn't about withholding affection or creating artificial distance. It's about recognizing that you are already a whole person with a life that deserves your full attention. When someone enters your world, they should feel like they're stepping into something vibrant, something exciting, something that existed before them and will exist after them. That is what creates pull. A man doesn't want to feel like he is your only source of joy or fulfillment. He wants to feel like he's been invited into a life that is already rich, and that if he wants to keep being part of it, he has to show up fully. And now, the deeper truth beneath all of this is that balance between availability and mystery is only possible when you have self-validation at the core. Because if you don't validate yourself, you'll find it almost impossible to maintain boundaries. You'll constantly feel tempted to give more, reveal more, chase more, because you'll fear that if you don't, he'll lose interest. That fear drives people to overcompensate, and ironically, it's that very overcompensation that kills attraction, and self-validation is the antidote to that fear. When you know your worth, when you've built a life that excites you regardless of who's in it, you stop worrying about whether someone will stay. You understand that your value doesn't shrink if someone doesn't see it, and that unshakable mindset makes you magnetic in ways no strategy or trick ever could. And imagine the difference between two people in a conversation. One is silently thinking, I hope he likes me. I hope I'm enough. I hope I say the right thing. The other is silently thinking, I know who I am. I know what I bring. And I'm curious to see if he's the right fit for me. The first creates tension and self-consciousness. The second creates ease and flow. And ease is irresistible. People are drawn to those who feel at peace with themselves, and men especially feel this difference. They notice whether you're constantly seeking reassurance or whether you're rooted in your own value. The first dynamic makes them feel pressured, like they're carrying the burden of someone else's self-esteem. The second dynamic makes them feel free, like they're in the presence of someone who chooses them but doesn't need them. And that freedom is intoxicating. It allows the relationship to breathe, to grow, to feel like a choice instead of an obligation. And what makes someone magnetic isn't how perfectly they fit an external standard. It's how powerfully they embody their own standard. It's when you say to yourself, I am already enough. I am already worthy. And if he doesn't see it, that's not a reflection of me. It's a reflection of his readiness. That mindset makes you glow differently. It shifts the dynamic from chasing to attracting. You stop grasping and instead you allow the right people to come toward you. And there's something undeniably attractive about a person who doesn't need validation because they already give it to themselves. They're not desperate for attention, but they still enjoy connection. They're not afraid of being alone, but they're open to being with someone who adds to their life. That balance is what creates magnetism. Men sense it immediately. They may not always articulate it, but they feel it. They feel when someone is chasing approval, and they feel when someone is simply living fully and inviting others to share in that life. And here's the irony, the more you rely on external validation, the less you tend to receive it. People can sense when you're seeking approval, and it creates pressure that makes them pull away. But when you stop seeking it, when you live your life fully and validate yourself, you suddenly find more people leaning toward you, complimenting you, wanting your time. It's as if by letting go of the need for validation, you open the door to receiving more of it than you ever did before. And that's the paradox of magnetism. It doesn't come from effort or performance. It comes from alignment. It comes from the energy you bring, the curiosity you offer, the balance you maintain, and the self-love you embody. And when you live from that place, you don't have to ask how to attract men. They are already drawn to you, often without even understanding why. When you understand the balance of availability and mystery, something incredible happens. You stop over-explaining yourself, and you stop giving away the very thing that makes you captivating. Too many people fall into the trap of thinking that if they don't reveal everything immediately, if they don't constantly show they're interested, the other person will lose patience and leave. But the truth is, when you reveal too much too quickly, when you hand over all the pieces of your story without allowing someone to earn them, you rob the connection of depth. Attraction thrives in the process of discovery. It's the little moments of, I wonder what else there is to her that keep someone coming back. And mystery doesn't mean being distant or cold. It's not about creating walls that shut people out. It's about remembering that not everyone deserves front row access to every part of you right away. Your life, your time, your story, they're valuable. When you give them too freely, people subconsciously devalue them. But when you reveal them with intention in layers, as trust is built, you create anticipation. That anticipation is powerful because it makes every interaction feel like there's more waiting just around the corner. And think of it like a book you can't put down. If the author revealed the ending in the first chapter, would you keep reading? Probably not. What makes you turn the pages is the unfolding journey, the surprises, the suspense, the way the story deepens the more you go. People work the same way. The most magnetic individuals aren't the ones who dump their entire life story on you at once, but the ones who share enough to connect while holding back enough to intrigue. And this goes beyond what you say. It extends to how you live. If you're constantly available, if your schedule is always wide open, if you drop everything the moment someone calls, you unconsciously communicate that your world revolves around them. At first, they may appreciate the attention, but soon they begin to take it for granted. On the other hand, when you're busy with your own passions, when you have goals, friendships, and routines that fulfill you, you create natural scarcity. You become someone who's not always easy to access, not because you're playing games, but because you have a full life. That fullness makes every moment with you feel more valuable. And this is why some people find themselves endlessly chasing someone who isn't even that extraordinary on the surface. It's not because the other person is objectively better. It's because they've mastered the rhythm of giving and withholding, of warmth and distance. They don't reveal everything, and they don't make themselves perpetually available. That rhythm creates a gravitational pull that's hard to resist. But here's where the danger lies. If you confuse mystery with manipulation, if you deliberately withhold affection to provoke a reaction, the energy shifts. People can feel when you're being authentic and when you're trying to play a role. Authentic mystery isn't about strategy. It's about genuinely valuing yourself enough not to overextend. It's about being selective with who you share your time and energy with, and about letting the right people discover more of you naturally at the pace of real connection. And when you do this right, you no longer have to wonder whether someone will stay, because those who are genuinely invested will lean in, curious to know more, eager to peel back the next layer. And those who were only interested in what they could quickly take will lose interest when they realize you're not here to be consumed instantly. That's a gift because it saves you from investing in people who were never meant to stay. But holding this balance requires strength. And that strength can only come from a deeper foundation, your ability to validate yourself. Because without self-validation, mystery feels risky. You'll feel afraid that if you don't give everything right away, if you don't constantly reassure, they'll leave. And that fear will drive you to overcompensate, to chase, to explain, to cling. That's why self-validation is the heartbeat of magnetism. Without it, all the strategies collapse. And when you live from a place of self-validation, you no longer operate with the mindset of scarcity. You don't worry, what if I lose him? Because you know you cannot lose yourself. You understand that your value isn't dependent on someone else's attention. And that makes you fearless in how you show up. You can be open, warm, and curious, but you can also hold back, set boundaries, and let people prove themselves over time. That balance is impossible without a strong sense of your own worth. And think about the difference between someone who approaches dating like an audition and someone who approaches it like a collaboration. The first tries to prove, to impress, to win approval. The second knows they're already enough and is simply observing whether the other person is a good fit for the life they're building. The energy is entirely different. One feels heavy, needy, and pressured. The other feels light, free, and confident. Guess which one creates attraction? And when you stop needing constant reassurance, you create space for true connection because the other person isn't carrying the weight of your self-esteem. They're simply enjoying your presence. They're free to be themselves too because they don't feel like they're under a spotlight of expectations. That freedom is rare. And that rarity is what makes you magnetic. And then here's the beauty of it. When you validate yourself, you don't just become magnetic to others, you become magnetic to life. Opportunities flow more easily to people who radiate certainty and joy. Friendships, careers, experiences, they all expand because people are naturally drawn to those who know their worth. And when life is full, when your days are already rich with meaning, you don't cling to anyone to fill the void. Instead, you invite them in to share a life that's already vibrant. And this is why the balance of availability and mystery is so crucial. It's not about creating distance for the sake of distance. It's about living such a full, validated life that your presence is naturally precious. When people get time with you, they know it matters. When they earn your trust and you open up more of yourself, they feel it's a privilege, not a given. That is what keeps them chasing, not because you're withholding, but because you're worth the pursuit. And then when you embody this, you stop asking, how do I keep his attention? And start living as the kind of person who doesn't need to worry about attention. Because attention flows to those who know they don't need it. That's the paradox. You become magnetic the moment you stop trying to be magnetic. You become irresistible when you no longer need to be irresistible. And every interaction becomes lighter because you're no longer calculating, no longer seeking approval, no longer afraid of what happens if they lose interest. You know that if they're the right person, they'll lean in. And if they're not, you'll keep living a life so rich that their absence won't diminish you. That mindset doesn't just make you attractive, it makes you unstoppable. Magnetism, then, isn't something you chase, it's something that flows out of you when you are rooted in self-validation. It's the quiet assurance that you don't need to be chosen to feel worthy because you've already chosen yourself. And when you live from that place, you exude a kind of calm power that draws people in without you even trying. It's the energy of someone who walks into a room and doesn't ask, will they like me? But instead thinks, do I like the energy here? Do I feel good with these people? That shift changes everything because it puts you in the position of the chooser instead of the one waiting to be chosen. And when someone senses that you don't need them to define your value, they begin to see you differently. You're not just another option. They feel they have to step up if they want to be part of your world. That doesn't mean you act superior. It doesn't mean you belittle others. It simply means you carry yourself with dignity, with standards, and with the understanding that your life is meaningful, whether someone joins you on the journey or not. That energy is irresistible. And it's like when you meet someone who's passionate about their own life. They have goals, hobbies, relationships, and pursuits that light them up. You feel the spark in them. You see that they're not sitting around waiting for someone to make them happy. They already are. And because they're already fulfilled, the time they share with you feels like a gift, not a transaction. That's what makes them magnetic. People crave that kind of presence because it feels light, unpressured, and alive. And then think about the contrast when someone doesn't validate themselves. They hang on every response. They overanalyze every text. They feel crushed when someone doesn't give them the reaction they were hoping for. That energy doesn't attract, it repels. Because instead of creating freedom in the connection, it creates pressure. No one wants to feel like they're responsible for someone else's happiness. But when you are already your own source of joy, the people in your life feel liberated to simply enjoy you. That's what makes them want to stay. And this is the paradox most people don't understand. The less you need someone, the more attractive you become. Not because you're aloof or uninterested, but because your value isn't tied to their validation. That independence is intoxicating. It makes someone feel like being with you is a privilege, not a duty. And people naturally invest more in what they see as a privilege. But let's be clear, self-validation doesn't mean you don't want love. It doesn't mean you don't desire connection. It means that love is a beautiful addition to your life, not the foundation of your worth. You can want someone deeply. You can fall in love passionately, but you never lose yourself in the process. You remain grounded in who you are, and that grounding is what keeps the attraction alive. Because the moment you lose yourself in someone else, the polarity disappears. You become dependent, and dependency suffocates magnetism. And self-validation also changes the way you respond when things don't go as planned. If someone pulls away, if they lose interest, if the relationship doesn't unfold the way you imagined, you don't crumble. You don't make it a reflection of your worth. You understand that rejection is simply redirection, a sign that this wasn't your person, or at least not your timing. That strength makes you even more magnetic, because resilience is one of the most attractive qualities a person can have. And imagine how powerful it feels to be the kind of person who can say, I want you, but I don't need you. That's the ultimate expression of self-validation. It says, I value myself so deeply that I'll be fine regardless of what you choose. But if you do choose me, you're stepping into something extraordinary. because I know what I bring. That blend of openness and strength creates a gravitational pull that's impossible to ignore. And it doesn't just affect romantic attraction, it changes every relationship in your life. Friends respect you more, colleagues see you as a leader, strangers feel drawn to your energy because people can sense when you're grounded, when you're not swayed by every passing opinion. They trust you more because you clearly trust yourself, and trust is magnetic. And think about someone you admire. Chances are, it's not just their looks or their talent, it's their certainty. It's the way they move through life with clarity, the way they don't bend every time the wind changes direction. That steadiness makes people want to follow them, want to be near them, want to align with them. That's the same energy self-validation gives you. And then here's the secret: self-validation isn't about perfection. It's not about pretending you never feel doubt, never feel insecure. Everyone does. The difference is in how you handle it. Do you let insecurity control you? Or do you remind yourself of your worth even in the moments when you feel shaky? Self-validation is a practice. It's choosing again and again to ground yourself in truth rather than fear. The more you practice it, the stronger it becomes, until eventually it becomes your default. And when that happens, you no longer need to perform to attract. You no longer need to strategize how to keep someone's interest. You simply live as your fullest, truest self, and the right people are pulled toward you naturally. That's the beauty of magnetism born from self-validation. It's effortless, it doesn't drain you, it energizes you, and it transforms the kind of men you attract, because when you operate from need, you attract people who feed off that need. Often the wrong kinds of relationships, imbalanced, draining, unfulfilling. But when you operate from self-validation, you attract men who respect strength, who value depth, who are drawn to substance. You attract partners who aren't intimidated by your independence, but inspired by it. And those are the kinds of connections that last, the ones where love isn't about completing each other, but about complementing each other. And this is why the inner work is always the real work. The more you build yourself up, the more magnetic you become. The more you fill your own cup, the more naturally attractive you are to others. Because people feel your energy before they hear your words. And when your energy says, I am whole, I am worthy, I am enough, you don't need to convince anyone of your value, they just feel it. And that's what makes someone unforgettable. Not the perfect outfit, not the flawless makeup, not even the clever things they say. It's the way they embody self-love so deeply that it radiates into every interaction. That kind of presence lingers in people's minds long after you've left the room. It's the spark they can't explain, the magnetism they can't ignore. And it all begins with validating yourself first.